Hello, everyone, and welcome to NapChat. We have a great program this evening. I'm really excited. But before we get into that, we want to take care of, our usual spiel of no medical advice. Conversations are based on personal experience and peer support, not clinical recommendations. Again, you always want to consult your doctor, to always talk to your healthcare provider before making any changes to your treatment, medications, or routine. Respect everyone's journeys here. Everyone's experience with narcolepsy and IH is unique and valid. So let's keep this a safe and supportive space for everyone. And also, just so you know, we are recording this. NapChat sessions are recorded, so members who cannot attend live can watch later in our private NapChat digital community. If you prefer not to appear in the recording, please turn off your camera before or during the session. Also, as a participation note, you may submit your questions in the meeting chat at any time. All participants will be muted during the guest speaker presentation. You're welcome to unmute yourself and join the conversation during the Q&A session. So again, it just goes back to, we just want to make sure we give our guest speaker time to speak. But during that time, you can definitely submit your questions, and we encourage that. Submit your questions in the chat, and we can definitely ask those questions on your behalf if you choose. Or you can just wait for the Q&A session and then ask away. All right. Okay, well, meet the host of NapChat. So again, my name is Alejandro Bruno Solis. I'm the program manager for PWN, and I have with me Rachel Nesmith. She is our volunteer and community outreach member, and she, of course, has been in this community for so long. We're just so thankful and honored that she's part of, the NapChat digital community as one of the hosts.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Rachel. We love you. All right. And of course, we also want to thank our sponsors. Big shout out, to Avadale and Takeda that's making, programs like NapChat, the Jobs Project, Health and Wellness 360 a success. Really just so thankful for them and their support. With that said, we do have our jobs project. So a lot of people right now, they're taking advantage of the Udemy, courses. Rachel here, she's one of them. Yeah, Rachel, she completed a course, within her learning track. I think, was it like Friday or something? You were quick, Rachel.
Yeah. Oh,
Truly
thank
amazing.
you.
Yeah, you
Thank
bet.
you.
And then we also had Grace who completed like a 14-hour learning track. We have other individuals in there right now in their learning tracks, learning. I do a weekly touch base with them. Monday's the day I do it. And it's so great just to kind of hear like what they've been doing, where they're at in the process, because we can see that. So it's been really exciting. So good stuff going on there. And we also have the December NapChat. So this is to be determined. As everyone knows, we have a government shutdown. We did have originally planned to have the TSA as a representative come out to our NapChat and kind of speak about the TSA process and all that. So hopefully maybe we'll hear something. If not, we'll maybe have like a general discussion NapChat. Maybe we all just come in and we just talk about whatever we want, so to be determined. But with that said, we have a flyer toolkit. So check that out. We made this with our volunteers like Solomon and of course my better half, Melissa, my wife, Melissa Bruner Solis, and Rachel. They all kind of put this together with the TSA. So that's amazing. And eventually TSA agents will have this, in their hands on, how to recognize and how to work with us when we're having, cataplexy or just these difficult times, when we're traveling. Traveling can be stressful. Yep, Brett. All right. So AI workshop for job seekers. So the next one that's coming up is November 17th. And this is a good one. It really is about how to detect job scams and fraudulent listings. I'm going to wait to share my personal story with this one. This is why I actually wanted to do this. I brought this topic up with Sam, like, we need to do this because I actually fell for a scam, and it was after I was hired that I fell for the scam. Crazy stuff. Lost $800 in the process, but I'll share it during, that AI workshop. The other thing is with the AI workshop, hey, we have the accommodations checklist. So part of the jobs project and part of our toolkit program is we have an accommodation checklist that was put together by a lawyer, Andrew Kolsky. He was actually one of our guest speakers, and when we launched this, so you can go to our NapChat digital community under resources, and you can find not only the flyer toolkit, but you can also find the ADA accommodation checklist in that space. We're also going to be creating a site, page under our website that will also have toolkits available for people that are not a part of our digital community. But we highly encourage you to join the NapChat digital community. It is private, free. All you got to do to join is go to www.pwn4pwn.org and click join here. All right, we are ready for our guest speaker. That is Cecilia Marie Holland. She is
Yay.
a social worker, newly diagnosed, I want to say within the year, 60
Yes.
years old. And what I find fascinating is the diagnosis. She actually has an official diagnosis of idiopathic hypersomnia that presents as narcolepsy type 2. So, I
Yes.
mean, I'm going to let her get into all of that, that diagnosis, just sharing her story about advocacy. And what really hit me hard when talking with Cecilia about this was being a social worker. Because in my mind, right, social workers, that's what they do. They are
Right.
advocates, right, for the
Right.
patients, for the people they serve and work with.
Yes.
And in my mind, I'm like, she's got this. But in reality, she had to learn how to advocate for herself. It was a
Yes.
learning curve for her, right?
Oof.
So
Yes.
this is going to be a great conversation, a great story to hear. So, all right, Cecilia, I'm gonna be quiet now. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me because, like I was saying before, it was so difficult to be able to try to do this journey pretty much by myself at that point. And now that I have you all, it's given me a lot of opportunity to be able to learn from you all. So let me share my screen. Let's see, share. There we go. Can you guys see me?
Yes, we can.
All right. Well, I'm born and raised in Detroit, still live in Detroit. I've been here my whole life, except for that year I lived in Georgia. That's a whole nother story. Again, like Alejandro said, I'm 62 and I'm newly diagnosed. And the wild part about the diagnosis was that this time last year, I'm talking to my sleep specialist, and he's saying narcolepsy type 2. And I knew that I had that MSLT and a sleep study, and I have no REM sleep. So I'm saying, how are you saying narcolepsy type 2 and I'm getting no REM? So he, at that point, he said, well, I'm going to have to change it. You're going to be idiopathic hypersomnia that presents as narcolepsy type 2. And I said, oh, wonderful. Back in 2019, I was diagnosed with sleep apnea. And as you can see with that little sleep study picture. And for years, I'm sure I had sleep apnea and didn't know it. And so I was going to the doctor. I'm super tired. I'm not feeling well. And this is going on for years, no diagnosis. Until finally, I went to my primary care for yet another visit. And an intern in there noticed that my neck was large and started talking about sleep apnea. So I was kind of almost diagnosed with sleep apnea just by accident. And then I'm thinking there are so many people out here who have sleep apnea and who have these things going on and they don't know it. And again, like Alejandro said, I'm a LBSW. I've been in this field for over 30 years and absolutely had to learn how to advocate for myself. And the wild part about it is that even though I was diagnosed, advocating for people every day, I didn't know how to do it for me. And at this picture, back in 2020, I was a social worker in a nursing home. And I got COVID in that first wave, another wave where people were dropping dead. And I was in the hospital. I was on oxygen, and things were bad. I was septic, and I fervently believe had I not gone to the hospital when I did, I would have died. And there I am, looking real super gray. So what ended up happening with me, COVID gave me asthma, it gave me hypertension. I didn't have these things before, and so I've got the challenge of trying to navigate with the sleep apnea. With all these different things going on, and I didn't know how to speak up for myself. what I learned is that when I would go to the doctor and be real super passionate about what I'm saying and just very animated, I would look at the person's eyes and I could literally see when the clinician checked out, like they stopped hearing me. I said, so what I had to do was teach myself how to communicate and speak in such a way where I'm not seen as histrionic. So again, I had to learn how to do that, and nobody told me how to do it. And I said, okay, I have to speak in such a way where they'll listen and they'll act upon it. So I was telling Alejandro before, this was about 3.5 years ago. I was so frustrated with my pulmonologist slash sleep specialist. I grabbed my insurance card. I'm at work and I'm finding all new doctors. I got a new primary care, a new sleep specialist, a new cardio. I got new everybody because I said I have to have a healthcare team that's going to listen and support me. These people aren't doing it. I was trying to get a new sleep study for 2 years. I felt myself fatigued. I'm going to the pulmonologist. I need another sleep study. No, no, you don't this. You didn't lose weight. You didn't do this. You didn't do that. He was so busy telling me that I couldn't. When I found my current sleep specialist, I'm talking to him through Zoom. He said, well, you need another sleep study. I said, I've been trying to get one for 2 years. And what I've learned is that I had to communicate very calmly, just very calmly and slowly, and to have people listen. And at work, when my condition really started declining about 4 months ago, about 3.5 months ago, I fell asleep at work without realizing it. I'm typing a report, I'm looking at my laptop, I'm looking at the monitor, and that's all I remember until my coworker tapped me on my shoulder and said, are you okay? I said, I'm not okay. And that's when I knew I had to do the short-term disability. Before that, I needed workplace accommodations. I said, well, here I am. My brain is not working right. My cognitively brain fog, but I have to write my supervisor in HR in such a way and the sleep doctor so I can protect my job. Because if I hadn't learned how to do that, they could fire me because I'm not meeting the needs of my job. I'm sleeping at work. Clearly, there's something wrong. And I told Alejandra about my supervisor in the beginning. She just had no clue about narcolepsy. Dear, are you taking supplements? Not understanding that this is something neurological. So by me stepping up for myself, I'm actually educating them. And she said, well, we had someone that had FMLA, but they never used it. I said, well, that's not me. I need this. I need to do this. And what helped me on my job was the fact that I had been a good worker and an award winner, so I had credibility. And my CEO had a conversation with me one day in passing, and she said, do what you have to do. That's what the short-term disability is for. But yeah, I had to, even though my brain wasn't working, I had to do the research to make sure my accommodations were going to work. That these accommodations weren't undue, they weren't a hardship. I had to really get that lingo down in order to protect myself. Because there's nothing worse than being sick, you're at work, you have a whole life. But the last thing I needed to get was fired. And so it's been an education from my supervisor, from my managers, my colleagues to know that yes, this is, even though you can't see this, this is something serious. And for them to take me seriously. And I'm kind of glad that I did what I had to do. Because the short-term disability, I've been off since September 3rd, trying to get healed. I'm on the Xywave. For the first time in my life, I'm really working in my best interest and not for other people's. Yes, that's my career, but I had to learn how to take care of me. That meant I had to do these doctor's appointments, change my diet, take vitamins, get healthier, and do everything that I need to do because in a couple of weeks, I'm going to go back to work still under those accommodations. Because the last thing I want is to go back to work and have them bombard me in such a way where I'm out sick again. And again, self-advocacy, I had no idea, even though I'm an advocate, by training for other people, I didn't know the significance of learning how to do it for me. And in the beginning, it was very scary. It was scary because I didn't know what to say or how to say it or what to do. So I had to teach myself, okay, this is what's happening to me, and it's not my fault. And I need the support of my medical community and my work community. And again, newly diagnosed. I mean, I just got diagnosed literally just 3 or 4 months ago. Because before that, they didn't have the words for what was happening to me. And I was at the point I didn't care what they called it. I just needed help. I just needed help. So I'm really glad I found PWN because you guys have been just so awesome. It's like I'm talking to you all and you absolutely understand. You understand what I'm going through. That I feel so good because I'm not alone. And that part was really painful in the beginning because I'm out here, I'm by myself, I don't know what's going on. But to talk to you all who have been on this journey and you know about the Xy wave, you know about all the sleep inertia, all these things. I said, they understand and they believe me. Because I tell Alejandro a story about how my sister had come to my apartment one time and it was cluttered. I had clothes folded up in the couch. They were all clean, but I had just stuff just out of place. And she looked around and she looked at me and I could see the disdain on her face. And she said something like, well, you weren't raised like this. What's going on? And blah, blah, blah. And nowhere did she ever figure one, something was wrong with me. And two, she didn't offer to help because she didn't really believe I was sick. She just thought I was being lazy. And I said, there's something going on. So it's a journey of trying to have people understand what's happening is real. I'm not making this up. And like we talked before, we wouldn't wish this on anybody. But I feel better knowing that I'm not alone in this journey. And the Xywave, this whole thing, I've been on it now about 3 months. It's been an up and down with the side effects. But again, my brain is working better than it ever has because I'm finally getting REM sleep. Who knew? The one thing I want people to understand, especially the newly diagnosed people, to understand they're not alone. This is real, and we'll walk with you. Again, that is powerful to know that you've got this going on, but you're not alone. And so my heart is full because I know that if I have any questions or something's going on, I don't understand, I can reach out to Alejandro or Rachel or somebody, and you guys know exactly what this is all about, and that makes all the difference. And that's another reason why I wanted to become an ambassador and advocate because the awareness is not there. People don't know, and people have to understand this is real, and we're out here trying to live our lives. And I just want to help people understand that. Any questions? Any questions for me as I walk this journey?
What convinced you to to jump out of your comfort zone and say, hey, this is real. I need to try to find other people going through this journey for
Because
me.
it was so painful to figure I've got all this going on with me that no one can see. And it's absolutely real because I can see my cognition is brain fog, all this is gone. I have to find people who have walked this walk because my back was against the wall. If I hadn't reached out with the narcolepsy support groups, finding PWN, I would have been at work sleeping and I would have got fired because I was telling
Wow.
Alejandro one day when I'm falling asleep at work like the way I did, it looked like I was just drunk and I don't even drink. But that's what a person would assume.
Yeah.
If they just come in the office and see me slumped over, they're going to think this person's not sick, that they're drunk. And so I had to find a way. My back, when I said my back was against the wall, I said, I've got to find a way to figure out what's happening. And I can't be the only one, even though it felt like it. And so when I talk to you guys and you're saying, oh, yeah, this is going to happen. Oh, yeah, we've taken Xywave. I said, okay, I can listen to them. I can see, okay, this is real. They've experienced it. And there's nothing like talking with somebody who understands.
Yes.
There's no replacement for it because you all know this is something that you didn't choose and is real.
Absolutely.
And if
That
my other family members don't believe it's real, that's on them. That's that's not a part of my journey right now. I don't have to convince them. The only thing I have to do is heal.
that's right.
And so have I gone no contact with a few family members? Yes, I have. Because I don't want to
Mhm.
take that energy trying to convince them of something I'll never convince them because that's not helping me.
Right.
And I had to be okay with that. And I am. I'm okay.
Completely. And you have to protect yourself Because I mean, you're fighting against oncoming traffic, trying to dodge some bullets. Going, hey, and
Yes.
look at my sleepy peeps. They're here. We're all saying that I'm not doing this. This isn't me. This is happening to me, and it's hard for people in a self-responsibility mode zone of America. And you're like, no, this really is the bad guy I'm pushing uphill against.
Yes.
And they
And
can't see it.
they can't see it. Talking to my coworker, the speech therapist, one day, I said, imagine doing your whole life, your job, your husband, your kids, your family, your whole world, and you haven't slept in 48 hours. How would you function? She
Yeah,
said, I wouldn't. I said, welcome to my world.
yeah, yeah.
You
I'd be
know,
like,
for them to, yeah, for them
mm,
to understand that do all the things that you do and you haven't been asleep in 2 days. How would you function? So yeah, there were days I went to work,
yeah,
hair half combed and whatever clothes, everything was clean, but they couldn't
yeah,
get any more because it wasn't there.
right,
I didn't have the ability or the energy. So I said, I can't live like this. I've spent my entire lifetime helping other people improve their quality of life. Now I
yeah,
have to do it for me. And like Alejandro said, nobody else is going to do it.
yeah.
And
That's
my
right.
and my supervisor, well, I've never had anybody like this before. I said, well, you do now.
Yep.
And I sent her that YouTube cartoon video about narcolepsy so she would understand that me
Mm,
taking supplements is not gonna fix this.
right. It
Well,
ain't.
what just like cracks me up is the microaggression there, right? That's coming from your supervisor, right?
Yeah,
Like, I've never had anybody like this before, right? It's just, again, and I'm glad. I love how you responded. Well, now you
Yeah.
do now,
I do
right?
now
You know,
because
and that, go ahead.
she's off site. She's at the corporate office, but I'm working with
Mm,
other managers on site every day, and they see me every day. She doesn't.
Right,
She might see me once a week. So, like we said, she didn't see me on airplane mode like the other manager did.
right.
She So my conversations with her are different because, like I said, maybe she had some people on the team who were slackers and not doing what they're supposed to do. But I've got my accommodations to reflect that there are times I need to work from home.
Yep.
And she has to abide by them because I've got all the documentation with HR. So I'm going to make them follow the law. And I told one of my coworkers one day, I said, I'm sick, but I'm not stupid. And they had to understand that. I said, I'm sick, but I'm not stupid. And I knew that I could not continue working the way I was. So when I came for short term disability, they got 3 people doing my job right now. They split it up with 3 people.
Oh, wow.
wow.
Those those 3 people are anxious for me to come back because they're doing their job and mine. But guess what? I'm coming back when I'm ready.
Yep.
And it's hard because I never was able to speak up for myself until now. And it's a beautiful thing. I'm like, hey, I could have been doing this all along.
Yeah, I want to commend you on
Yeah.
all of that. I mean, with the doctors and doing those steps of the disability before you stepped out and whatnot. That's great. I also was curious, like you said, you had a sleep apnea diagnosis
Yes.
originally. I guess did the MSLT was that kind of in line with that, or did you end up
No, that
kind of
happened
figuring it all out and then
it happened
pushing
years
to
later.
go there?
Years later. What happened, I was initially diagnosed in 2019 with sleep apnea, doing the CPAP. About a year, I'm still not getting better. I'm still super sleepy. And I'm going to the pulmonologist saying something's wrong. I need another sleep study. No, 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 no. And he put me on Sunosi. And but he was treating me like I was a drug addict. I would come every 3 months, he'd give me the script and not really talk to me. And I said, okay. And that's when I knew I had to get rid of him. I had to get rid of everybody. When I got the new sleep study, the new doctor, the one I have now, I had another sleep study. Come find out I'm on a BiPAP now because the
Okay.
CPAP wasn't effective. And I knew it wasn't, but it was so hard trying to find someone to listen to me. And so when I had that sleep study and now I'm on the BiPAP, things are better. And one thing I did in my favor without realizing it, I was super adherent to using my machine. So when
Yep.
I would go into my air and show it to them and they'd see it, I said, look, in that entire year, I only missed it one day. And that's when my power went out. So I knew I had to stand on that to increase my credibility. So now they can't say, oh,
Yep.
she's tired because she's not using the machine, because I'm clearly showing I am. So I had to do all these things to operate behind the scenes that will work in my favor. And so now my sleep doctor I have now, he knows I'm super adherent. He can see the results. He knows I'm using the BiPAP every night and napping. So it was just hard work because I had to say, okay, I'm doing these things, and here's the proof.
No, the sleep apnea journey is really rough for certain people. Some people adhere to it and they get some benefits or a lot of benefits, but like I went through it and it was very rough. I I suspected narcolepsy way before that in my own case, but like I'm still curious, did you suspect the narcolepsy at that point when they started
No,
to
no,
realize the apnea wasn't working, or
not at all. I had
finally the
no
MSLT
the
got you
MSLT.
there?
What happened back in November a year ago? I'm still talking to my sleep doctor. I said, I need to get on Xywav. I need something to get me into REM sleep. And he said, well, you'll need another sleep study. That sleep study didn't happen until this past May. But so I kind of knew that something else is going on. I said, and I told him, I said, look at my sleep study. I got 8% REM in the study, no REM in the MSLT, none. I said, so isn't that a condition of the diagnosis of narcolepsy? So he and I are having these conversations. And I told my doctor, I said, look, I'm not trying to practice medicine. You're the MD, but I'm telling you what I'm experiencing. So just having that communication, and it's been phenomenal because the sleep doctor all along has worked so hard to make sure that I'm getting on the Xywav, working with the heart for the short-term disability. But we had to get to that place where he had to understand that if I'm communicating this with you and I need you to send that paperwork in, this is what I need you to do. So it took a while to get there, but now I'm comfortable knowing that he hears me, he listens, and he follows up. Like the other
Yeah.
guy who kept thinking I was drug addict.
It sounds like you got to a better place and a good place since you're actually getting the help that, should.
By accident. When I took my insurance card out and was looking for people, I just thought he took my insurance. Found out he's one of the best sleep specialists in Michigan, but I didn't know that. I just knew he took my insurance. And that's the thing. I had to have a consultation with him to explain to him, this is where I'm at. This is what's happening. And he said, well, you're on the Sunosi. So we're going through this whole journey with the stimulants and all this stuff. It's just been, like you said, so hard trying to get people to listen. And again, I had to bring out the drama, take down the passion, take this down because I could literally, when I said I could see people's eyes glaze over, I was watching it because I've been in mental health working with people for over 30 years. And the instant I knew, I said, okay, how I'm communicating now is not working. So how do I speak? How do I function in a way that would serve me? And that's when I learned, bring it down, speak very, almost like a monotone, speak without much emotion, speak with such clarity where they can't argue with me. Like 2 years ago, I had this abdominal pain, went to the ER, and immediately I told the ER doctor, I said, look, I'm not here for pain meds. I'm here to find out what's causing the pain, which meant he had to deal with me differently
Yeah.
because he's assuming that I'm there for pain meds and I wasn't. So even with my primary care, I've had her for 5 years. It took 5 years for us to have these understanding of how I communicate. And now I have I call a support team that's actually working on my behalf. And I told all the doctors, I said, look, I'm not asking you to agree with everything I say. I'm no doctor, but what I want you to hear what I'm experiencing. And they're listening and they're, having conversations. But again, if a newly diagnosed person, that's hard to do.
Yeah,
It's
no. Yeah.
it's super hard. you
They
know,
they they don't like to have somebody just come in and kind of throw, oh, I have narcolepsy or I'm dealing with cataplexy, something they rarely see or have limited, or maybe they even have a lot of understanding into it, but they like to piece it all together. I think like you're saying, and it sounds like you've done, it's going into these doctor's appointments with like not a pre-log necessarily written out, but like having really thought about it and like you said, doing it very calmly, monotone, direct, and
systematic.
putting it as you did, you don't have to agree with what I'm saying, but I'm trying to piece this together, get confirmations and, recommendations and how to improve as well. But, it's
it's
yeah,
it's a
great.
battle.
It's
Even
it's hard.
now, since I have ADHD, when they're giving me all these stimulants, they put me to sleep. So if I take the medic, say if I take my Ritalin, I'm on Ritalin. If I take it the way they prescribe, 4 times a day, I would be asleep now. So I take one and just the way I see, because if I take it the way it's prescribed, I'm asleep. I'm going to sleep. I promise you. I am going to sleep because it calms me down too much. And that's something my sleep specialist even has to keep in mind. I reminded him last week at the appointment. I said, remember, I've got ADHD. This doesn't work for me like it does other people. Because I was on at one point a truckload of stimulants that would have anybody spinning. But with me, I'm over in the corner sleeping. So they have to adjust how they prescribe meds to me because, again, what works for everybody is clearly not working for me. But it's been a rough journey, but I'm kind of in a way glad I did this because this can help other people to know that, okay, you need to get these workplace accommodations in place properly so that they can't fire me for being sick. And I told my one coworker before I went out, I said, I'm sick, but I'm not stupid. And she just laughed. I said, look, I'm sick, not stupid. And I even got plans for when I go back in a couple of weeks. I'm not going to let her bombard me, my supervisors. They're going to still follow those accommodations because guess what? It's the law. They don't. She doesn't have to like them.
Yeah,
I,
and your strength is like clear if you got three people doing what you were doing before. And that's one of the common things with this disease is like there's a strength that goes unseen that goes on behind the scenes, and it's really hard on the person, but just getting through and continuing on is something that's like the 48 hours every day sleepiness. It's just
Yeah.
part of it.
You
yeah.
But
hit, you hit that on the
yeah,
head, man. I mean, really, you really
Yes.
hit that on the head.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's like, how do I do this? I've got the memory loss. I've got the brain fog. I've got all these things going on, but I know I have to get these letters and paperwork done in such a way where I can go on disability. And that wasn't easy. One day it took me like a whole day just to write a letter to my doctor to explain to him what I needed, what had to happen. And again, it was hard. It was energy I didn't have, but it was my last recourse. You know what I mean? It was either I go off or I stay here and you fire me. So I had to make a decision. Which one will it be? And now that I'm
Mm.
starting to get the REM sleep and my brain is clearing up, I was telling Alejandro when I go back, they're going to see a different person because
Mm.
my personality was real flat, my affect, because I was just existing. I wasn't living. So they're going to actually see a side of me they've never seen because I'm actually awake now. Isn't that amazing? And I
That's
noticed it. I said, my personality is going back to the where it was before. Because
right.
during this whole thing, I'm half asleep, I'm at work, I'm stuttering, and I'm just in a fog, and they think I can work and I can't. I said, I know, I said, I got to come out of here. This is not working. Now, is Xywav a perfect drug? Am I still adjusting? Yes, I am, but I'm way better now than I was before.
Mm.
Way, way, way better. And my sleep doctor changed the dosage. Now I'm on 2 doses a night rather than one. And because he's going to IH versus a narcolepsy type 2. And again, I don't care about the label. Call me what you want, but make sure I have what I need. Because
yeah,
he said it's IH, but it presents as narcolepsy type 2 because your sleep latency or whatever that. Cool. Just keep the Xywav
Mm.
coming. Like, cool. And
Um,
I'm just hoping that in talking to newly diagnosed people that they're able to, if get nothing else out of it, is like step back, take a look at where you're at, and work in your own best interest.
mm.
yeah.
That's
You
what. That's it.
you said it earlier at a point about you have to sort of learn to fight for yourself and look
Mm-hmm.
after yourself. That's
Mm-hmm.
something I think we skip over in like elementary and just all of schooling. And I hate to resort to societal cultural norms, people that bugs certain people, but it really is like one of those things that until you're at that point that you're dealing with something that's so impactful that like, and then you step back and the only thing option you have is to like put yourself first, not trying to live up to all the expectations, standards, and whatnot, but just how to find a balance and maintain it and achieve it and walk that line thereafter, basically. But it's huge.
It's huge because what I was doing at work, I was working all day without taking a lunch break, drinking coffee all day, thinking that would help keep me up. Of course, it didn't. So I wasn't even doing the basic things like my nutrition and looking out for those things. So while since I've been home, I'm eating healthier, I'm eating better, I'm taking the time to take care of me. And when I go back, I'm going to do those things too. Because guess what? If I don't do it, nobody else will.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm older, I'm in my 60s, so we're used to that really strong work ethic, work, make the boss look good, do all these things. And in the meantime, I'm there at work about to fall out. And so who benefits from that?
Right.
Who benefits from that? And so it is kind of funny. It's taking three people to do my job. So be it.
Right. I told you so. We're capable of great things, and I love
Three
how you
people.
empowered yourself. It reminds me how I went in and I said, "No, I know I have narcolepsy. I know this is this," and then trying to find the right provider. It's a long journey, and sometimes we have to find the right provider several times in our life because people retire, people move.
Yes.
And sometimes they don't want to treat us in all our mess anymore.
Right. And the thing is too, like I tell people, if I'm at work and I'm on crutches or if I have a walker, that's something they can see.
Yeah,
So having something that they can't see, it makes it even more difficult.
yeah,
But I got to the point where I said, I don't have to convince anybody of anything. The only thing I'm doing is putting this documentation in place and taking care of myself.
right.
And I know when I go back, people are going to be looking at, is she okay? Can she do the job? That's not my supervisor's call. That's between my
That's
doctor and
right.
me.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. The fact that they had to put in three people to replace you speaks for its own dang self.
Three people,
That's right.
because they're doing their job and part of mine. But guess what? I'm okay with that because I got to get better.
That's right.
I have to.
And you have proven that you've done everything that you possibly can to get better. It's
Everything.
not behavioral. It's not anything you're doing yourself. This is you pushing the boulder. It's you fighting Goliath that they can't see.
Exactly. And that's the thing too. When I'm at work and I was all spaced out with stimulants and you could look at me and see something was wrong, the people around me, like I said, if they don't know details, they don't know I'm having these health issues, they're gonna think I'm high on drugs or they're gonna think I'm drunk.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing
Yes.
helped me earlier with last year, I won this big award, corporate award. It was like
Oh,
four of
wow.
us. Four of us got this award like last year, and that helped give me credibility. And
Yeah.
I told my boss at any evaluation is that I am having these health issues. I'm hoping to, get to the point where I'm able to work at the caliber that you all have expected and that I've shown. And again, like I told my coworker, I'm sick, but I'm not stupid. And what
Right.
I'm and what I'm not gonna let you do is fire me for being sick. And
Right.
I'm not gonna let you talk to me as such a way where you think I don't understand because I do. And it took a long time again to get like this because I was pretty passive and taking care of me. I was all taking care of everybody else,
Right.
but I wasn't taking care of myself at all. And as I was declining and going down and falling asleep, and I said, okay, I know I can't stay here the way I am. And there was one issue where we were supposed to have a meeting at corporate, which is like 10 minutes from my office. And that day I knew I was too tired to drive. I knew I couldn't drive. So I called my supervisor. I said, look, I need to be on Zoom for this meeting rather than go in person. I don't feel safe to get behind the wheel. And so my other coworkers who didn't know what was going on, they like, we want to do our meeting too. We want to be on Zoom too, like little kids. Not understanding that I had a legitimate reason, to go
You're
by
right.
Zoom. And I told my supervisor this. I said, I promise myself, my doctor, everybody, if I feel too tired to drive, I am not getting behind the wheel.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to work something out. And I think at that point, she followed along because there wasn't a choice. I wasn't saying, oh, I'm not coming to the meeting. I'm just coming to the meeting differently.
Safety
Yeah.
first.
Safety first. And again, with her not being able to see what's wrong with me, she didn't understand. But I was at the point, I don't care if you understand or not. I'm not getting behind the wheel. And my other
Right.
coworkers, like little kids in high school, they all want to do what I do, not
Mm.
realizing that I was saving lives, but not getting behind the wheel.
Right. This it's not a lazy thing. This is me trying to be the best person that I can be
Yes,
on this job. and not kill anyone.
And I told my
Yeah.
boss that. I said, yeah, it's only 10 minutes away, but it could take 10 minutes for me to go out and kill somebody or kill myself. What would be the
Right.
point?
Right. On the evening news, if anything, no thanks.
Why? Why should I do that? So it's for them to understand by me doing that meeting by Zoom, it's saving lives, mine and other
Right.
people, because I don't have the right to take someone's life because I'm selfish. I
That's
don't.
right.
I can't. And my one coworker said, Cecilia, I really admire you about stand. I said, I have to have a conscience. If I'm
That's
too tired to
right.
drive, I'm not driving.
That's why I don't do it, because of the cataplexy, and it's not really an act of of wanting to be selfish. It's about like realizing that, oh my gosh, I could kill myself or someone else and not mean to.
Right. And I told my coworker that day, I looked at her, I said, Will, I said, would you rather I get behind the wheel and risk killing you and your kids, your grandkids, because I'm selfish and I think I can make it? No,
Right.
I'm not doing it. So all those type of things to be able to stand and back up what I say is has been phenomenal because I've
Mm.
never had to. I've never had to step up for myself before. So this is completely new, but it's possible. It's doable. And I hope that new people understand, yes, this is a tough journey, but it's possible to get through it, to help yourself. And when I talked to my doctor a year ago about Xywav, I meant it. I meant because I knew at that time this so-called quality of life wasn't there. I said, I can't keep living like this. And he said, well, the Xywav's a heavy duty thing. You got to get another sleep study. Well, yep, I had another, whatever it takes.
Hey,
Mm.
Cecilia, I think Melissa has a question. I think she's trying to give
Yes.
her.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Melissa.
Don't be sorry. I'm just trying to. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yes.
I just want to go back, as a healthcare provider. I'm just so sorry that you have to suppress your emotions and become like a robot. I mean, healthcare providers need to do better in this whole situation. And so I just want to say I have empathy for you. I'm sorry about that because as a person, you shouldn't have to, and newly diagnosed, like to
Right.
handle the anxiety and emotions of that, just to speak to a doctor is ridiculous. So I
And
just wanted to say that as well.
thank you. I appreciate it. But the thing was, I was
Oh,
kind
I
of
can't hear you.
forced. Oh, hello. Can you hear
There you
me?
go. There you are.
Yeah, I was kind of forced to learn how to communicate because I'm watching this clinician dismiss me. I'm watching it in real time. I'm seeing his eyes glaze over as if I was wasting his time. And that's how I felt. I was watching, I was listening. I said, okay, he thinks I'm wasting his time. And I can't function like that. So I had to literally sit down and said, how do I speak to the medical establishment in order to be heard and not dismissed? Because remember, I was dealing with a primary care doctor for years that couldn't figure, oh, your blood work is normal. Your blood work is normal. I said, it took me 2.5 hours to get ready to come to you today. That's not normal. I'm trying to say that kind of thing. It's where long before the diagnosis, I knew something was wrong. Even before the sleep apnea diagnosis, I was losing my physical ability to speak. I started stuttering. I was in my 50s. I said, is this early dementia? Like, what's going on? And no one's believing that there's something wrong. I'm talking like that. And it's that kind of thing. So to get diagnosed with sleep apnea, and then, into the BiPAP and into the MS, all these, it's been a journey that took years.
Yeah, and you feel that when they're kind of just looking over you, not hearing, not listening, skipping over everything you're telling them and just bouncing back, changing the subject. It's very painful and it's very like, I mean, I've had to walk out completely feeling insulted and like telling them, okay, I'm going for a second opinion. You guys just aren't hearing or listening to me and you aren't offering the expertise that you present as having. So I've got to go on my own. And then later I may, I've called them back and been like, so yeah, Mayo Clinic confirmed it and, got to
But
look out
think,
for yourself, but
but think
it's
about all the
so
things you
hard.
had to do to get to that point. To
Oh
say, well,
yeah.
I'm going to the Mayo. I mean, come on now. All of this, the hoops we have jumped through. It's mind-boggling. There's one pulmonologist I saw. It was like the first visit. It's like a $60 copay. He talked to me for 8 minutes and was walking toward the door. And I said, "Look, I haven't gotten my $60 worth. I have some questions." He was the one I got rid of him too, because again, he was dismissing me. He wasn't hearing me. Again, I spent years. My interpersonal skills are very, very good, even through the fall. So I knew I'm not in the right place. I'm not in the right place. And I need to find somebody who will hear me, because you and I, we all know nobody's making this up. If I was gonna make up conditions, I wouldn't make up this one. It's like,
I hear you on that,
I
right?
would make up this one. So it's again, it's an education for the people around us. Like even my current primary care, I can't talk to her about sleep at all. The minute I try to talk to her, she said, "That's for your sleep specialist." I said, "You my primary care, you need to hear something." Like, come on now. So,
Exactly. I remember that happening with me too. Like and I was a Kaiser at the time, and I'm like, well, they can all see the records. And I remember with my PCP, I was visiting with him before he retired, and it was kind of that same reaction where he was like, well, I don't know anything about that, and talk to your sleep, specialist, and it is, And then the other thing too, just kind of going back to, when we're talking about healthcare providers and needing to do better, not dismissing us or not accusing us of things. And one of
yes.
the topics I think that we're going to start seeing in our community is how are we, like, for example, when I was really having issues staying awake at work, always nodding out at the computer or whatever, right, and trying to stay awake, my way of solving that problem was eating. Like, I was just eating to stay awake.
Wake.
But that's not a question your doctor will ask you. And it's not so, because I don't trust the doctor, I'm not even going to answer the question or be truthful about it, because they're automatic and to go, well, you're overeating, just stop. But no,
Right.
I'm eating because that's the only thing that I can find that is keeping me awake during the times I need to be awake.
It
You
was
know?
all purposeful, and that's the part they're not getting. You did what you had to do to stay awake.
Right. So let's get down to the bottom of that. Let's not talk. Let's not get into the whole, stereotype of people overeating and yada 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 yada. No, let's get into the fact that this is what's actually helping me stay awake, so that I can perform my job, so I can get a paycheck without losing
Amen.
my job. Right?
Right.
It's that kind of. Let's get real here.
I
I think
feel
at
that
times, you
when,
Yes.
you
and
get people in the medical field that just dismiss.
Right.
They don't think
or
about that
they
stuff.
they jump to depression. I
Right.
couldn't help think of depression, and when you
Yes.
mentioned the having to restrain from kind of filling how you fill out the form or whatever, you
Hmm.
didn't say it exactly like that, but
Yeah.
they always give you the depression. How are you feeling? I definitely, since confirmation, that's been a huge one for me that really
Oh, yeah.
changed. It's like how I see my own state of, happiness, depression. It like really changed how that perspective is. But yeah, yeah.
And how easy it is to get a diagnosis like that. Like 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half ago, my dad passed away. I was seeing my primary care just for a visit, and she was saying, "Well, are you depressed?" I said, "No, I'm not depressed. I'm stressed out because of finances." And my dad recently passed away, but there in my chart, there's mood disorder. And I told her, I said, "I'm not depressed. I'm stressed." I said, "I'm a social worker. If I felt I was depressed, I would say that, and I would do whatever means, therapy or pills, whatever it takes to get out of it." I said, "But I'm not depressed." And she just looked at me. So I'm a sleep doctor. He sees that in a patient portal. He's asking me, what am I taking for it? I said, I'm not taking anything for it because I'm not depressed. I said, my dad died a month ago. I'm adjusting to losing my last parent. And I'm just adjusting to a world that, these health issues. So I'm not depressed. And I told him that. And he just kind of, she kind of looked at me like, whatever. So I just let that one go.
Mm-hmm.
Because either they're saying I'm having these, conditions because I'm overweight or I'm depressed. And I'm overweight, but that has nothing to do with this whole narcolepsy IH thing. So it's even a lot of education for us educating our medical community.
It's like they don't even trust you to experience your own symptoms and interpret them correctly. And it's like, I'm the one experiencing them, not you, doc.
Right. Like I was saying with Alejandro before, I've been in this body for 62 years. So take my word. I know when something's right and I know when something's wrong.
Mhm.
And again, I'm not the type of person where I'm histrionic or dramatic or anything. So if I say this is happening, you best believe it's happening. But it took a while to get there with my medical providers because
And
they had
that's
to
a
get,
big word. Most people don't get histrionic, but I do.
yeah,
And they should understand that word, that this is not, you knew me before this, and you knew me that I was able to make all of these and make it happen. And for it to suddenly happen, well, that's out of character. That points to, it's like the best predictor of future behavior is past
past
behavior.
behavior. Bingo. And I
Yep,
think that's helped me in this whole journey because I've demonstrated I was a competent worker and a competent person. And I think had I not done that or been able to do that, this would have been a totally different outcome.
yeah. Not only that, but you're at that age where you want to get your full retirement worth because you work for this. You don't
I
want to be let
I'm
go at this age.
of course, and I'm trying to do 3 more years. I want to come out at 65, not 67, as they say.
That's
Um,
right.
I want to do 65, but I have to be able to do it in a way that it benefits me. Like what I'm saying.
That's right.
Because
And
my supervisor in a meeting about 6 months ago, we were doing a Zoom meeting, and she made a remark that I remembered. It was something to the effect where she and her boss have to they have to see if I can do the job. And I didn't say a word because okay,
hmm,
that's telling me that she and her boss think they have the right to decide if I can do it. If I'm competent, but I need accommodations to do it, they've got to provide those. So it's all these things like you got to follow the law.
yeah.
Yep.
If my
Oh, man.
accommodations say that I can work from home 2 days a week, then we're going to follow these accommodations. So it's been an education from my supervisor, her supervisor, and HR. Fine, but I'm going to get what I need.
Mhm.
That's right. If you
And
wanted to hire one person to do the job of three, then you're going to value me and
and
you're
like I
going to
said,
understand my doctors.
I'm sick, but I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you're not lazy.
I'm
You're a
not
hard
lazy.
worker.
I've proven it.
Wrong.
I've absolutely proven it. When the CEO can visit our site and know me by name, by my nickname, she
Mm.
called me Cece. I'm like, somebody's talking to her because how would she
Mm.
even know my name if she knows my
Right.
nickname? So someone's saying something good, and one lady came to me. She said, they're speaking really good of you over at corporate. I said, well, I'm glad to hear that. But they have to know I was doing that, and I was supremely sick, and I was outworking people who were well. What does that say? So do I feel bad about being at home since September 3rd? No, I don't. I feel just fine because me and this treatment, me and this, I'm doing what I need to do.
Yep.
Yeah, and that,
And
and
you'll
that's
come
it.
back stronger and like you'll have three people that hopefully can be, you
I'm
know,
telling you, they'll probably be
there
so
to
glad to
help.
see me when I get back. They're like, "Woo!"
And she go, where's this new girl, man? She was
Right?
right all along.
And
She's
that's been a
being tough.
really, like I was telling Alejandro before. There's a core group of people where I work. I call them the mean girls. You know, they look at reports. They're looking for typos. They're looking for errors. So when I started messing up because I was half asleep, I said, "Oh, I can't have the mean girls after me. I got to get well. I have to get well."
You know how sad it is to be called a mean girl these
My
days? You have to be a mean girl.
thing is, why do you have people in their 40s and 50s acting like they're in high school? Really? Really? And
I
so
know.
I,
SMH, man.
and
It's
I said,
sad.
"Oh, I'm not gonna give the mean girls any fuel.
Mhm.
Mm-mm.
No, no, none."
Wow.
So
You
that
be a Lindsay Lohan.
it's been wild. I'm telling you, it's been wild. And again, I let my work speak for myself. It's like, but you're going to follow these accommodations. I'm going to take these breaks as outlined by my doctor. I'm going to do what I have to do for me because guess what? The job's still going on without me being there, even though 3 people are doing it, but it's still happening. And through this whole thing, I've learned that life goes on and no one's going to care about me and for me but me.
And
And
us.
and you all. But think about it. I never had to do this. I never had to do this. But it feels good knowing that despite everything, I'm capable of putting things in place that helps me heal. And I got to the point where I can't waste energy thinking, well, they don't understand narcolepsy, they don't understand IH. At this point, like I said, I don't care if they understand. If my supervisor never understands, I'm okay with that. But she's got to follow the law. She has to do that. And it's wonderful to know that, okay, I can relax, I can get myself better, and I can go back better than I was before. And they're going to see, like I said, a different person, because before I was just like a zombie. I was just existing. I was just kind of there. But now it's going to be good to go back and be able to work to the caliber that I'm used to. And
Oh.
one day I was talking to one coworker about something. She said, "Oh, you did such a good job." And I was under my breath, like, "This ain't my first rodeo." Like, I didn't just start doing this. And one of the young ladies at work, we have, they're called PCAs, or like nurses aides, to work with our participants, our elders. And she was watching me do a tour. She was listening, seeing me laughing with the family members. And later on, she's in the hallway being loud, "I want your job. I want your job. You got an easy job. You got an easy job." And I stopped her. I said, "Look," I said, "I make it look easy." I said, "I've been doing this for 30 years. What you see me doing assessments. I'm assessing the family members. Is the person they're bringing in clean? Are there bags in that family member's eyes? I'm assessing while I'm doing these tours." I
Mm-hmm.
said, "You only want my job because you think it's easy." I said, "I make it look easy." And she shut her mouth and stopped being all loud because she wanted my job. And I looked at her, I said, "You couldn't do it anyway." And she doesn't work there anymore anyway. But I had to break it down to her, because when she's going through the hallways screaming loud, "I want my job, she got an easy job," you're diminishing the skills that I bring. You're diminishing my education and training. And I got a little tired. I said, "Okay, that's the last time she's going to do that to me on this floor." And everybody just stopped in the clinic and just looked. They did, because I said, "You couldn't even do my job." I said, "I make it look easy." And when I write my reports, I'm able to bring in those assessment skills because I've been a social worker for so long. So I'm bringing things to this job that they've never seen before. And that's what makes me different. So I say all that to say, I'm taking my time to heal, and I'm going to go back better.
I love it. Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you so much, Cecilia, for sharing
Thank
your
you.
story, your journey. I mean, really inspirational. I mean, there's a lot to be learned here, and and I also want the audience to know, you're also a volunteer. You're one of our brand ambassadors. You're on our NapChat
Hey,
digital community. If anybody ever has any questions, they want to reach out to you on our Circle platform and our NapChat digital
please.
community. I know you'd be happy to talk with people.
Yes.
Offer whatever you can there. But yeah, no, I mean, it really, yeah, you touched on a lot of stuff that even just resonated with me. Even on my own journey when I had to go on a leave of absence and just working in corporate America, and I mean, you just hit it all in the head. I just was like, wow, and I love how you set your boundaries, and that is a very, very important. That's the one biggest lesson to learn here is
Yes.
set your boundaries, stick by your boundaries. That is part of taking care of yourself. So
Amen.
self-care,
Learn your limitations.
yep,
Walk
Yes.
that line.
yep, exactly.
Yes. And
Right.
regardless what people think or how they perceive it, I'm going to take care of me. We're going to take care of each other. And that's what the bottom line. That's what matters.
Yep,
That
exactly.
I'm so appreciative of all of you, because I think this journey would have been much more difficult without you.
Yeah.
So thank you for being. This is, like I said, this is like a hug when I talk to you guys. It's like a hug.
It is. Yeah, no, it is. And that's what our community's here for, right? We're here to help, lift each other up, be there, support each other, share our journeys, because yeah, we're not alone in this. And then Solomon, yeah, I like that idea about a toolkit for predisability or something. Yeah, we should definitely come up with something like that.
Yes, I'm all in. I'm willing to help
Yeah.
whatever it takes.
Cool, cool, cool. Yeah,
But
I love it. Yeah. All
thank
right.
you.
Well, hey, everybody, again, please join our Nat Chat digital community on Circle. Like I said, it's free. It is private. It's nothing like your other social media spaces like Facebook or anything like that. We've got great conversations going on there. It's a safe space. You can definitely ask questions. You can engage, or if you just want to learn, it's all there. Again, we got our JAWS project. If you want to do something around, you know, stepping up in your career, learning something new, we have that available for you. We also have our Health and Wellness 360 program, which is starting, the first cohort is starting this Thursday. So really excited about that 26-week program, and it's run by narcolepsy, life navigators, narcolepsy
Life Academy.
Life Academy. There's so many I'm trying to remember these days. Narcolepsy Life Academy. They're the ones running it, meaning these are people with narcolepsy that are actually running the program, which is amazing, right? Because again, it's kind of like what we're talking about, where there's that disconnect with healthcare providers because they're just not getting it. So anyways, with that all said, we have a new way of how we close out our NapChats. So Rachel, close it out for us, please.
Until next time, same nap time, same nap channel.
All right. Have a good night, everyone. Thank
Good
you so
night.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Night,
Good
night.
night.
Bye.
Night.